Welcome to another AI video generation guide with ComfyUI. In this video, we're going to be reviewing how to do stereo images, stereo video, and also how to do generation of these and looking at them in VR. So I think that's going to be interesting generation video we're going to be looking at. Let's have a look and see how we can do this with the tools that we have at hand there. So in general, how is this done? I mean, how can we have stereo images from just AI image or normal image, right? So there's two things that needs to be done. You need to be able to see the depth of an image. When you look at a flat image, you need to be able to analyze the depth of it there and to be able to see how the depth looks like. The second one is to be able to generate the missing images, the missing data, because as you generate the simulated image of the site, you'll miss that data, so you have to generate it. And it just happened AI can do both, right? So for depth, I mean, when you look at an image, AI it's able to analyze and see what is the depth of each of the element in that image. So with that, it knows where's deeper and where's closer to us there. Here you can see the two different image in two different angles. They look really similar, but actually they're different. And if you zoom in a bit there, you'll see right on that spot there, I mean, it got extra image that was generated, and that's from the Stable Diffusion. But going back to the root there, how do we see stereo 3D? How do we see the 3D of it there? There's 5 ways. In fact, there's more, but let's go with 5 there. There's the fast blink, where you just rapidly blink between left and right eye. It's fun, you don't have to do anything, but it's not the best way to look at. There's the augmented gyro view with the phone there, right? So you can flip around the phone and see it. My favorite is the cross eye, which is basically just cross your eyes to superpose both image. We'll get back to that. There's also the head casing plus phone, right? So the lightweight version of the VR headset. So that's one, but then there's the actual VR headset where you put on the actual video that's stereo, and then you see in both eyes with the VR headset there. So coming back to the cross eye trick, I mean, really you just cross your eyes so that both images superpose themselves there in the middle, and this is where you need to focus on. If you focus on this, you actually see the 3D. So let's look now at how the workflow looks like, because it's a very simple workflow. Right here we can see a very simple workflow that shows how to do generation of the 3D stereo images. In fact, we can do the same thing for video generation also. So it has the node that allows you to switch between both, right? Between the video and the just simple images. With here you can see it's very basic there. You load images or video, you select them, and then it goes through a depth map there where it would generate the depth. Let's, for example, let's look at it there, preview image. And there you go. And we also have the stereo node, right? This is the most important node there that we have to look at, because really this is where all the parameter goes through there. And at the end, we have the very just saving the video here. So let's just do one with these default values to see what it looks like. Let's run this. There we go. So we have the run, we have the preview image. We can see here it's very similar to the loaded image that we have there. It's really the depth map of our image. And with this depth map, it's able to generate the stereo image and video that we're looking for. Because basically with the depth of the image and also doing stable diffusion to fill in the gap there, it's able to do the stereo image that we want to see there. They look the same, but they're slightly different. So we can see the different values here. I mean, from the modes, there's a list of modes available. We can even do the good old red cyan anaglyph mode there. So choose whatever you feel is right. We also have the fill technique, when we mentioned that when it has to generate the extra image, it has to generate some stable diffusion right on the side there. Now, there's many ways to do the extra fill on the side. It's really up to us to decide. There's a no fill at all, there's naive, there's polyline sharp, soft. So it's really just for the sake of viewing an example here. Let's put none. So let's run this just to see when none, what does it look like. We can see here when we put none, all the information that stable diffusion will be generating to simulate that 3D view, that slightly tilted view of a stereo image. You can see how it's not showing up there. It's all black lines because it's not doing anything, but at least we know where it is. So that's interesting. So just for fun, we can also change these different values. Let's put this to 5. The divergence. So how divergent it's going to be. So if you remember the image just before, here the generation has to be even bigger, right? Because it's more divergent. So the image has to be more tilted on the left and on the right side for both eyes. So you can see there's more area where it's black there because it has to generate more to be able to give you that 3D effect even in a stronger sense. So that's the divergence. Let's put this back to 2.5. There's separation. Let's put this to 1 so that we can see the effect. It's barely visible. We can see some separation here on the left and the right side, but I don't think it's visible enough there. Let's skip that one, put this back to 0. Just for fun, let's put this to a very big value there, here 5. Let's see if we can see that divergence or separation, I mean. Yeah, we can see the separation here, but I'm not sure how that's going to help out there. So something to look into more deeper. Stereo balance, let's put this to the highest possible. And let's have a look. So really here, I mean, on one side, there's barely any stable diffusion being done, while everything is on the right side here. So it tells me instead of balancing out both sides, it's forcing it toward one side, right? So I'm assuming here, probably we can put -1. Yeah, it's gonna all balance out on the other side, right? So on the right side, it's identical to the original image, but on the left side, we can see all the extra stable diffusion it has to generate to simulate that divergence there, right? So again, I guess keeping here 0 is the simplest here, so that we have both eyes looking at the same thing. I guess depending on the angle, you could change that to make something make more sense. But let's actually use the technique there, right? I mean, usually we use soft. This is the normal use case that we would be running there. So there will be on both sides has some stable diffusion being done, but it's a soft mode, right? Let's try to do it with the sharp mode there. We can see a difference. It's a bit sharper. I mean, it's more on the edgy side, but I think at the end it's a very effect of what you're looking for and what you feel that you like. So it's very subjective there. So that being said, those are all the settings. I mean, it's nothing more complicated than that. Change these different values there to match whatever you feel is right, how much divergence you have, what fill technique that you want to use there. The soft is the default one, left, right view mode, and also the different balancing value. So all that is to enable this stereo image. Now, if you want to do video, it's nothing more complicated than switching this node here. It's going to load the video instead of the image, and you'll see this video is going to generate and go straight to here. So let's try that. There we go. So you'll see right here on the left side here, all the different frames that were generated to do the depth there. With the depth, it allows it to see how to do the stereo images, in this case stereo video, but at the end it's just a bunch of image that was applied the same operation. Looking very nice. So this is basically the default basic workflow. Now keep in mind, all this is coming from a custom node here from Dobidub, Comfy Stereo. So all of this is coming from directly here. Now, one thing I notice is if I try to use it directly from the main branch there, going through the step and so on, it didn't work very well for me. And you can see here all the different more details about, you know, those field, those naive and so on. There's a lot of option. In fact, there's even more option than what the version I've shown you, and I'll tell you why. When I tried to use the latest version here, shown here, it did not work very well for me. I think maybe the version is different, which caused it to regress maybe in the way the stereo image is done. In my case, using an older version was giving me better result. Really, for me to get this working there, I cannot use this version. I have to go to the older version when I was using it a few months ago. So to do that, basically you go to the branch there. In fact, you can go directly to the commits, and you can go back in time, right, to go to the version you want to see there. So in my case, it was in August, so it was one of the beginning version there, here August 1st. So this one right after, you'll notice there was some update and lazy stereo added progress bar. So I think at some point it was updated enough that it didn't work anymore for me. Is it because I'm using a different setting, a different element? I'm not sure. But when I go to this version, it was working, right? So you can browse to this point there, to this version, and you'll see this was 10 months ago, and all the feature that was there available back then is explained here, right? And in this case, I just did a code, download the zip file here, and I copied the content of the zip file in the custom folder there of ComfyUI, and I restarted the ComfyUI. So with that, it enabled me to use this specific version and not the latest version. Keep in mind, the latest version has some nice feature, right? If I go back to the main page here, with the latest version that was updated 2 months ago, you'll see that there's a DOVR video player and some DOVR node setup and so on. If I go back to my workflow, you'll notice 2 nodes that have disabled, right? Because if you use the old version, it won't properly load this because it didn't exist back then. If you load the very latest version, this is gonna show up with parameter and so on, just like in the image that was showing from the custom node there. Now, I could not correctly make this work as intended. I'm not sure why, but workaround was pretty simple there. I just used the output video that I generated here, and thanks to sharing with me the DOVR application, it's a really amazing application. So I load the application up. I pointed it to the folder on my disk drive that has all my stereo video, and then I was able to just click and open them. So instead of here directly streaming, I would say, streaming the output to my VR headset, in this case, it was just do upfront whatever video I want to do there and put in a folder. And then over there on the VR headset, I can just load it, right? So I don't think it's a bad workflow. In fact, most of the time when you generate, it takes quite some time, right? So it's quite fine that you save everything on the disk first. And when you're ready with the VR headset, you put it on, and then you go browse the folder that you have all your files. So I think that's a very simple workflow. I still left it here disable, so whoever wants to play with it can play with it there if they load the latest version. But again, keep in mind, for the latest version, when I look at the result of the stereo image, when I look at it, it didn't look right. I mean, when I crossed my eyes, it didn't give me the 3D effect that I was looking for. In fact, even the feel was a bit strange there. So there's something off, and I'm not sure what it is. But here's my way to make sure that things are working, and I wanted to make sure that I share it because people were asking me about how do I do those stereo images, and in this case even stereo video, which is just the application on multiple images. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm gonna share recording with the VR view.
Okay, so I'm in the tool. I'm in the application DOVR. Here there's a bunch of streaming video that's possible. I'm not gonna go through that. I'm just simply gonna go to my folder where all my videos are, right? So on the bottom here, you will see a local files. And in here, this is where all my videos or my files are. And you can see there's a bunch of them there. So let's say I try one. Now you'll notice that right from the start, it's just a. If I pause this a bit there, in fact, I can just put it in the loop so that it runs non-stop here. Now you can see on the bottom here on the menu, there's flat and mono. In case we want to make sure that we only see one image. We don't want to see both images at the same time. That's the whole point of the VR here. So mono, it asks us for top bottom or side by side. In some cases, when the video makes sense to be top bottom, we'll use that, but in most of our video, we're using side by side. So let's choose that. And now you'll see there's only one video. The one video, in fact, I mean, it's actually two video that's running for each one of my eyes, but I only see one video. Now, in a version that you see here on the YouTube there, you won't see the 3D, right? In my case, I do see the 3D because I see two different image in both of my eyes, which I don't realize that. So I see the 3D effect. So just another example here. Let's load this again. I think there's one that was the cat. Yeah, this one was fun to watch there, simply because the hands is really, really pointed out, right? So noted that I did do some special setting for this to work properly. I'll just go to the setting here. Let's just make sure that we go to the setting. So if you look at the menu setting here, there's a few settings that I changed. For example, switch eyes. When by default it goes to a eye mode that is not appropriate for the 3D, so I switch it. And as soon as I switch it, I can see the 3D effect there, right? So you can play around with it there. Again, you don't see it yourself from the streaming, but me, I do see it when I enable and disable the switch eyes there. What else? Transform. Now, the default before I was using this there, the screen was very big. It was barely able to see what I wanted to see, right? So I reduced it a bit there, and the screen was by default very curved also. Uh, Personally, I feel the curve effect there reduced the impact of the 3D effect, so I put it to 0. So those are the basic change I did. I don't think I changed anything else here. So really the screen size, if it's too big, to reduce it. I changed the switch eyes also so that the 3D effect for each of my eyes makes sense. So those are the main things I changed there beyond the, like I mentioned, the side by side here where I put the side by side image there and not just both image next one to each other. And with that, browsing through your folder of where your files are, you'll see all of them there. So that's how you see it in the VR headset.